Welcome back. Leap and Forcer Podcast, episode 17. Week 5 is in the books, getting ready for week 6. My Packers are on a bye, so it was kind of a little bit uneventful on Sunday. It was kind of stress-free football, though, for once. So just got to kick back, watch some games. There's a couple really good games on this weekend. Our picks were a little rough this week. We went, what did we go, 7-7, I believe. Yep, 7-7 this week. It's kind of a rough week. There was a lot of upsets. A lot of teams I didn't see winning actually pulled it off this week. So let's dive into those right now. On the season, though, we're doing pretty good. We're 45-16-1, so can't really complain about that. So we'll just jump into week 5 real quick, just kind of go through the games. Niners-Rams, that game surprised me. Mac Jones played phenomenal. I don't know if he could have played any better. And they pulled that game out. I thought the Niners were just missing too many pieces. Apparently they weren't. I thought the Rams were a little bit better than that. But, 49ers are playing well, and they're not healthy. So when they get healthy, I think they can definitely make some noise. Minnesota handled Cleveland. That game was pretty decent. That was the Sunday morning game. Then we got into the Colts just destroyed the Raiders. Geno Smith, I don't think he makes it through the season as the Raiders quarterback, or he shouldn't make it through the season as the Raiders quarterback. I know they paid him quite a bit of money. I just don't think he's that good of a quarterback. We'll see what they do. I don't know if they have a lot of options. Colts are really good. Danny Dimes is playing good. That defense is playing phenomenal. They got a run game. They got good wide receivers. Very well put together team. Saints, Giants, I don't know what happened with the Giants this weekend. Jackson Dart, I just thought they were still kind of riding the high from last week, and I thought they would have. The Saints are probably one of the worst teams in football, probably them and the Titans. And Saints pulled out the win. It may be their only win this season, but we'll see. That game was kind of uneventful. Cowboys-Jets. Cowboys handled the Jets pretty easily, like everybody else has. I don't know what Aaron Glenn's going to do with that team. He's got a lot of work to do to get the Jets to be, to even be salvageable this season. And we'll see, moving forward what they want to do with him and that team. I can't see them getting rid of him too quick, but, if you lose the team, lose the locker room, who knows? When you're a bad team, that tends to happen quicker than normal. Broncos, Eagles, that game surprised me a little bit. I don't really think the Broncos – I know the Broncos, like, record-wise, they're 3-2. But I just don't think the Broncos are that great of a team. I know they got a really good defense. I just don't trust their offense as much with Bo Nix. But they played well. They beat the Eagles. Eagles are just not hitting on all cylinders. I know, that Jalen Hurts threw the ball a lot more than he normally does, and they lost the game. So, and also I think Saquon only had like one carry in the fourth quarter, which makes absolutely no sense. So sometimes the play calling with Sirianni and those guys, it just – I don't know. A lot of it just doesn't make sense. You kind of scratch your head when you got Saquon back there. But anyways, that game surprised me a little bit. I had the Eagles winning that. Their O-line and their D-line are both not playing up to what they were playing last season, so it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. I still think the Eagles are probably the best team, if not one of the best teams in football. I just do, them and the Bills. But anyways, we'll get into that in a little bit. Dolphins-Panthers, that was actually a really good game. It's just bad teams. Panthers were able to pull that game off, which not really surprising. That those are just two bad teams, but it was actually a good game. Ravens-Texans. The Ravens are playing so bad right now. Their defense, they never typically have bad defenses. And for some reason, their defense is so bad this year. I know I seen this stat, I think, earlier today. I think they're without their top 6 salaried players right now. So I guess that makes some sense, but their defense is just it looks lost on the field. There's no heart on that team right now. Lamar's out. Derrick Henry, I feel like he's lost a step a little bit without Lamar because you don't have that dual threat. I think without the dual threat, when you can focus in on Derrick Henry, because Cooper Rush isn't going to really run. So when you can focus in on Derrick Henry, I think he needs Lamar. I think they kind of need each other because it kind of help, you don't know which one's coming at you. So I do think, I think when Lamar comes back, I can see them getting back on track. They have a very, very, I don't want to say easy schedule, but an easier schedule. Me and a buddy of mine at work were talking about that today. They just have an easier schedule coming up. And I can, if Lamar gets back, I think they can get back on track. But, we'll see. Texans manhandled them this weekend. So Cardinals Titans. Why do you fumble the ball before you get to the goal line? I mean, that was a hell of a run he had, the Arizona running back. I just don't understand why you do that. I see players always want to just lay the ball out right before they get to the goal line. It makes absolutely no sense to me. They did everything they could do to give the game away, and they gave the game away. So Cam Ward got his first NFL win, so good for him. Tampa, Seattle was probably the best game of this weekend, in my opinion. It was just back and forth. Sam Darnold looked good. Baker looked good. They answered back and forth every time. One scored, the other one would come down and score. It was a hell of a game. And I know I say this a lot. Baker he's just a dog. I mean, the guy balls out. He will, when you're down, you're really not down with him. He'll bring you back. He'll fire it. He's got receivers, and he's got a fire under him, and that I love as like a quarterback. I don't know. They pulled that game off 38-35. It was easily, in my opinion, the best game of the weekend. One of the best games I've watched this year. Lions-Bengals. Lions, I mean, it was an easy game for them. I don't know what Browning's doing. He gave the ball to the Lions so many times in his own end, just throwing it right to him. I don't even know if you want to consider those like takeaways by the Lions. I kind of feel like they were gifts because I feel like every one of those were just thrown right to the Lions player. All those picks. And Flacco got signed for the Bengals today, so we'll see if he starts this weekend against my Packers. We already lost to him once. We better not lose to Joe Flacco twice if he does start. So, but anyways, that game it ended up being a little bit closer than I thought it would because then kind of at the end, they got some garbage points, but it was still 37-24. So Lions pretty much, handled that game the whole first three quarters. Fourth quarter, they Bengals scored a little bit, but nothing crazy. Last one. Oh, I'm sorry, not the last one. Commanders, Chargers. That game surprised me. The Chargers are like a tale of, two halves already. It's like you got the first 3 weeks, they look really good. And then the last 2 weeks, it's just like, is this the old Chargers team? Like, where are they at? So I don't know. Herbert just seems a little off. The offense wasn't clicking. I know Amarian Hampton's out now. They put him on the IR. So he's out 4 weeks. I believe I read that yesterday. So we'll see what they do. I still think the Chargers are going to be there, toward the end. Jaden Daniels looked good in the second half. First half, it just seemed like he was kind of getting some rust off, but good to see him back out on the field. Looks good. So we'll see what happens with both those teams. Both those teams should be in the playoffs come the end of the season. You got Patriots, Bills. Bills defense, I mean, they played well. Josh Allen just couldn't seem to get over that hump this weekend, which is surprising because typically he does. But New England's defense showed up. They played really well. They pulled this game off. I did not have them winning this game. I thought the Bills would win this pretty easily. Patriots are good. They're 3-2. Dropped the Bills to their first loss, 4-1. I still think Bills and Eagles are probably the best two teams in football, just being honest. And then, I think the Lions and the Packers, are right there with them. I think the Bucs you can kind of throw in that mix too, as far as being like some, teams that can make some noise coming up. It's still early in the season. We're only 5 weeks in. So, but I still think, the Bills are kind of the go-to team for me in the AFC as of right now. I had Ravens in the preseason, for my Super Bowl pick. I think they can get back on track. If they can, pull off a 6-7 game winning streak, they're right back in it. But anyways, Bills dropped that one. I was really surprised they did. Last game of the weekend was the Monday night game, Chiefs-Jags. Mahomes, what are you doing? You're throwing a 99-yard or 98-yard interception return for a touchdown. Like, that wasn't nowhere near open. So, I don't know. Chiefs lost. I'm good with it. Anytime the Chiefs lose, I'm good with it. I'm not being a hater. I just don't like the Chiefs. And I'm over the Chiefs. I'm over the Kelsey crap, all that. Jags look good. They're 4-1. Trevor Lawrence, I think he's a good quarterback. He's not lived up to the hype. I think he just makes a lot of bad decisions, so we'll see how that goes moving forward. But that team's playing well. That defense is playing phenomenal right now. So one of the hottest defenses in football. They were able to upset the Chiefs last night. Jags were at home, 31-28. It was a good game. Trevor Lawrence fell twice to get into the end zone and win the game. So it's a little crazy. Chris Jones, I don't know if you haven't seen that play, go back and watch Chris Jones do absolutely nothing on the last play where Trevor Lawrence fell twice. Chris Jones just standing in the backfield, waiting, nothing, standing, waiting. Trevor Lawrence falls twice, then gets into the end zone. Chris Jones is still in the same spot. It's a little mind-boggling why he didn't do anything, but I don't know. Go check it out. It's kind of crazy, especially when it's your best defensive player on your team. But anyways, that was week 5. Let's jump into week 6. My Packers, we got the Bengals coming in. I still think they might start Browning, but you got Flacco coming in. He kind of knows, what the Packers were doing a couple weeks ago on defense. So, and also Flacco's been kind of all over the place in the NFL. So I think he can jump in and kind of get the playbook pretty quick, or at least some sets of plays that they can run and feel confident in Flacco. So we'll see what happens. But I really hope that Green Bay took this bye week to really kind of humble themselves a little bit, because we started the season hot 2-0 with Detroit and Washington, beat two of the best teams in the NFC. And then we go lose to not a very good Cleveland team. They have a really good defense, but a terrible offense. And then we tied a Dallas team who can't stop anybody. They can't stop a nosebleed on defense. But we put up 40, they put up 40. We tied. I hate ties in football. NFL, you got to figure that out. Like, there should never be a tie. I don't care what you do. You can do what the college does. We got to figure this out, though, because the ties are just, it's lame. It's a lame ending to a good offensive game. But, hopefully we get humbled in this week 5 bye. When we come back, Zach Tom, Aaron Banks, I really hope they're back. Our offensive line was not good against Dallas. So I'm hoping that we get those two guys back. I mean, they're the two highest paid offensive linemen we have. So Zach Tom, Aaron Banks, hopefully they make it back. We still have no corner answers here. Our cornerbacks are, Hobbs and Valentine and Nixon. It's definitely our weakest point of our team. I hope it's something that we address. I mentioned in the last podcast, I hope we go after Asante Samuel. Or I kind of feel like Tariq Woolen from Seattle may be available via trade. He's on the last year of his rookie deal. I don't know if Seattle's going to want to pay him. I think he may be available. He's a 6'4" corner. I think he'd be a really good fit for us because we don't have any big corners. Most of our corners I feel like they're like 5'10", 5'11", maybe 6 foot max. So it'd be nice to have like a big corner when you go up against some of these bigger receivers, like a A.J. Brown or a T. Higgins or, guys like that where they got size and the jump ball, we just have no shot. So I really hope our, the way to cover up that, I don't want to say bad corners, but, lack of productive corner play is pass rush. So hopefully Micah Parsons is a full go. Rashawn Gary's full go. Van Ness gets rolling. I hope our defense gets that hunger back they had the first 2 weeks, because the first 2 weeks our defense looked unstoppable. And then it was like Cleveland, we look really good, and then we look terrible against Dallas. So I just hope they get back on track. I hope Halfley kind of, rights this ship and, we start moving in the right direction. So I do like our chances this weekend. I really think we should go into Cincy and, manhandle them to an extent. Detroit just beat them by 13. Minnesota beat them pretty bad as well. So, it's just our turn in this division to go in and, beat up on the Bengals. So I really hope this is a get-right game. I hope we come out. I hope that LaFleur understands how to play, call plays and put a team away. There's no reason if we get a lead in this game, when we get a lead in this game, 14-0, 17-0, whatever it may be, keep scoring, keep going. Don't run the ball on first, run the ball on second, do a little screen pass on third. That's not even for a first down. And then, you're 4th and 3 and you're punting the ball away. Like, we got to stop that to end halves and to begin second halves, because it's what we do. It's repetitive. And at that point, we need to just put teams away. These are the teams that we need to practice putting away to understand how to put teams away. These teams that should not be keeping up with us, the Clevelands. We got Arizona next weekend. They're not very good. We got Cincy this weekend. They're not very good. These are the teams that that LaFleur needs to learn to put away. And I'm putting this on LaFleur a lot because the play calling is head scratching. So, I hope that we get right. Watson, looks like Christian Watson, they opened his window to return, so he's back to practicing. We also are getting Monk back, our backup center. That'll be helpful just to help out our O-line issues. But I got a big game coming from our offense this weekend. I just think that we're going to put up points since he does not have a good defense. They got Trey Hendrickson. I really hope that Zach Tom and Aaron Banks are back. I feel confident with them holding Hendrickson, keeping him away from Love. I can see Love going a 300 yards, 3 touchdown type game. Josh Jacobs gets a tutty. I think that you can get Golden going. I think that Dobbs is kind of the clear-cut one right now, especially with Reed out. So I really want to see a big game from Golden. I want to see, and also getting Kraft involved. I don't understand why you have one of the best tight ends, the hottest tight ends right now in football, and you typically just go away from him. You're only throwing the ball 3-4 times a game. Like, go at him. He's a big body. He's a matchup nightmare for, if you got a linebacker on him. If you got a corner, he's typically too small. If you have a linebacker, he's typically too slow. So get Kraft the ball. He'll fight for yardage. He typically holds onto the ball. Like, go to him. And then all that does is that when you open up that, the short, 5, 10, 12-yard throws for Kraft and your tight ends or your slot receivers coming across the middle, that's just going to open up deep balls when you start taking those shots with Golden. Or if you want to take a shot with Dobbs, it's going to open everything up. So I definitely think that getting that, those short yardage plays and letting, Kraft fight for yardage, I think that'll be crucial. But getting him the ball more, he's just a playmaker. Also, I'd like to see Musgrave get involved a little bit more in this game. It's Cincinnati. If we don't go in here and beat this team, 38-10, I don't know what we're doing. This defense, I hope they just unleash on if it's Flacco, Browning, I don't care who it is. I just hope they go in and unleash on this Cincy team because this Cincy team is not good anymore. You got Chase and T. Higgins. They're really good wide receivers. One of the best wide receiving cores, in my opinion, in the NFL. But at the same time, you got to have a quarterback that can throw to these guys. And I don't trust Browning. I don't really trust Flacco. Flacco didn't do much against us last game. Love threw that pick in our own end to end the first half, and it just – I don't know. It was a knucklehead decision, and I think that, that cost us big right there. So I just hope that Jordan Love protects the ball, no turnovers, go down. Let's just, get this offense moving, get this offense and, some chemistry going, moving forward. Because then we got Arizona, and then we got Pittsburgh. I think it's Philly after that. Don't hold me to that, but I think it's Philly after that. But this has to be a get-right game. There's some really good games this weekend. I'll get into some of the game picks later on this week. I just want to kind of touch base on some of the stuff that's been going on in Week 5 and Week 6. Looking forward to, hopefully getting some of our players back and seeing, how we look against Cincinnati. It's got to be a get-right week, though. Like, we have to come out. We have to play well. We have to be dominant. And LaFleur, this at some point, you're going to have to start understanding how to call plays. It's, it seems to be a repetitive thing with you, and I really hope that he can understand, how to go in and call plays and do the right thing and put these teams away. And if something's working, go to it. Also, Jordan Love, if you don't like the play call, you got to audible in the next play. You're always going to have at least 2 plays, and, when you go to the line of scrimmage. You're going to have to be a little bit smarter, too. If you think that he's calling a pass play and he shouldn't run the ball, like, you got to be that leader, too, because you're the only one that can make that call at that point. So hopefully Love steps up. Hopefully LaFleur steps up, and, moving forward, hopefully we can be a little bit more consistent and have some more chemistry and build that chemistry moving forward. So last thing I want to kind of go, I'm just going to throw a couple things out there that is I'm not going to just say coaches on the hot seat, but I kind of want to dive into this because, I've been talking a lot about LaFleur, and he's in his 7th season, and it seems to be like a lack of, we get to the postseason and he fails. He's 3-5 in the postseason. So I just want to discuss a couple, things off the top of my head with a couple of these coaches. And I'm not going to just say coaches on the hot seat because I'm not talking about Mike McDaniel. I'm not talking about these guys that are on bad teams. I'm talking about good teams or should be good teams that have coaches that are holding the back, in my opinion. Probably not going to like either of these picks that I have, but I got two that come to mind. John Harbaugh. First off, you have a Baltimore team that year after year has been competitive with Lamar. And it seems like every single postseason when it comes around, it's like you fail. And I feel like right now, John Harbaugh has lost that locker room. I feel like he's lost the team. I feel like that team is, I don't want to say turning on him because I think they have enough respect for him. But I do feel like when you start losing, you lose a locker room a lot quicker than if you were winning. I wrote a couple stats down because Harbaugh's been on that team for 18 years. He's 13-11 in the postseason. Good for him. He's got one Super Bowl. One in 18 years. That team has been dominant the last, 5-6 years since Lamar's been on that team. And then he had hella defenses before. He had, Ed Reed, Ray Lewis. Like, you had all these really good defense. You have one Super Bowl to show for it. Everybody kind of puts him up in this, like, top-tier coaching. But I wouldn't put him up there. I think he's a really good coach, but I'm not putting him as, like, an elite coach. Andy Reid is an elite coach, in my opinion. But when you look at Harbaugh, I don't put him there. It's just the lack of getting to that next level, getting Lamar in a Super Bowl, getting Lamar, getting a chip for Lamar. And I just feel like he's, right now he's kind of on that borderline. Like, is it time to move on from him? It may be in Baltimore because right now that team's falling apart. And I understand they have a ton of injuries. A lot of teams have injuries right now. I mean, Lions last year, they had lost 3/4 of their defense. They still held it together to get to the playoffs. They still had a winning record. They had a really good season. Harbaugh, you lost 6 players. I understand that. Lamar's been out a couple weeks, but Lamar comes back. Hopefully you guys got to right this ship because if not, I think this may be Harbaugh's last season. And I know it might be a little bit of a hot take, but that's just the way I feel. This other one that I don't want to say necessarily right now, but I also feel like is somewhat of like an overrated head coach is Mike Tomlin. It's probably not going to be, loved by many. But look at Tomlin's career. He's been there 19 years. He's 8-11 in the playoffs, one Super Bowl, 19 years. You're also in an organization that does not fire head coaches. They just don't. You look back, they have long tenured head coaches all the way, as far back as you can remember. When you look at Tomlin, it's, he's a good coach. Don't get me wrong. He's a really good coach. He's in that Harbaugh mix. I'm not putting him elite. He's got one Super Bowl. Really good teams, really good organization, winning organization. And he's won every season he's been there. But here's the thing. You can only go, 9-8 so much, or 9-7, depending on what year we're talking about, when it was 16-game season or a 17-game season. When you do this, if you're, I'm going to keep it 17-game season numbers. So, like, if you're 9-8 or 10-7, good for you. You go into the playoffs, you get outed in the first round. Congratulations. Because guess what? Now your draft pick, you're picking in the 20s. Late teens, early 20s. Typically early 20s. Great. Now you don't go get that upper echelon quarterback. Now you don't go get those top tackles that you need. You don't get a top corner. You don't get a top wide receiver. You end up with Kenny Pickett. Great. But you made the playoffs, so you're 9-8. But you're not going to win a Super Bowl. So I feel like there's a fine line of, okay, great, we made the playoffs. And then it's like, okay, but we don't win any Super Bowls. At a certain point, you got to be able to get your team over that hump or you're going to have to take some chances. I would rather, as a Packer fan, I would rather have a season where we're 6-11. If we're in a bad spot and we can't get to the Super Bowl, I would rather go 6-11, get a top 10 pick, go if we needed a quarterback, which Pittsburgh does, they needed one for the last 7-8 years since Roethlisberger's retired, whatever it's been. I mean, they had Fields and Russell Wilson last year. Then you had Pickett before. Now you got Rodgers, who's going to retire after this season. So my point behind this is I would want to go get a top 10 quarterback. But when you're 10-7, you make the playoffs, or you're 9-8, you make the playoffs, you have a very bad draft position. You can't go get those upper echelon players. I'm not saying tank, but at the same time, I feel like we're giving flowers to a guy that you're a slightly above average team to make the playoffs, and then you're out in the first round. It's like, okay, you're gone. 8-11 in the playoffs. Perfect. He's a great coach, though, with one Super Bowl. 8-11 in the playoffs. I don't think that's a great coach. I think he's a really good coach. I don't think he's great. It's probably not going to be a favorite, by a lot of people. And a lot of people may not agree with me. And I kind of feel like Matt LaFleur, sorry, it's kind of warm down here. My face is red. Matt LaFleur is kind of following those footsteps, but without a Super Bowl. Really good teams. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, some of the Hall of Famers, but really good teams. L in the playoffs. He's 3-5. We have 2 NFC Championship games his first 2 seasons. I don't know what just happened on my camera. My camera's all, I don't know. I think this camera's messing up. So, but anyways, I'm not going to go into all this. I think, sorry, if you got to this part, my camera that I use has like hand signals that I can do. And I think I just did something for like a whiteboard. So I apologize if that pops up. But anyways, I feel like LaFleur is kind of going down this path. And I really hope that he can right this ship, get this team over the hump, get to a Super Bowl. I think he's a really good coach, and I don't want him to follow in these footsteps of, will I take one Super Bowl in 18 years? Sure, I'll take one in the next couple of years because it's been a while. But I want to be like, he should be a little bit more consistent with what he's got to work with. That's my opinion. Anyways, I'm going to end it here. I know it's probably a hot take with the Tomlin and the Harbaugh thing, but I think that they're both really good coaches, but I don't think they're when you think top 10 coaches all time, they're not there. They're kind of in that 10 to 20 range. In my opinion, I'd have to go through all the coaches, but I'm kind of just throwing them out there in that 10 to 20 range. So again, if my camera got all weird, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. I have to see what the hand signal was I did and not do that again. So anyways, I'll jump back on here and I'll do my game picks for week 6 coming up. But besides that, as always, I appreciate you guys watching. And again, I'm just a guy with an opinion. So I appreciate you watching Leap Enforcer Podcast, episode 17, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Follow me, share it, do what you do. I appreciate it. Go Pack, go.